If you look back, did Democrats fail, past Democratic presidents, congressional leaders, to not codify Roe v. Wade over the past 5 decades?
I think that, to be very honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Certain issues are just settled.
Clearly we're not.
No, that's right. And that's why I do believe that we are living.
Welcome, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you guys for watching today. So today, I've got some news about the debate between Trump and Kamala Harris, something about the mics. And plus, we've got some other news from a former Democrat volunteer who is upset at the Democrat Party. You are not going to want to miss this. It's sure to be exciting. But before we get into it, you know what you got to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, make sure it works. Watch the video to the end. Now let's get into it.
Well, the debate over the debates, somehow it is back. The Trump and Harris campaigns are clashing over their September 10th showdown on ABC, including whether the microphones will be muted. So Team Kamala wants them hot, hoping they can catch Trump losing his cool on the microphone. But Team Trump wants to keep them muted, as it was during the debate with Biden. It is quite the reversal for the vice president. Kamala Harris is attacking Trump for wanting to stick to the rules after her campaign bashed him as a coward for wanting those same rules to change back when Trump floated a new debate schedule after Biden dropped out. But earlier, the former president seemed to be like, that's cool, I'm fine. Watch this.
All of a sudden, they want to make a change in the rules because she can't answer questions. We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine. I'm not spending a lot of time on it. I think my whole life I've been preparing for a debate.
Team Kamala responding on X with this, saying, with this resolved, everything is now set for September 10th. But it is not just the mics. Trump is also accusing the debate host, ABC News, of political bias after this interview between Republican Senator Tom Cotton and ABC reporter Jonathan Karl.
What do you mean taking away health insurance? What are you talking about?
She said when she ran for president that she wants to eliminate private health insurance on the job. 170 million Americans, John.
Yeah, I mean that is not her position now. She
How do you know that's not her position? How do you know that's not her position?
I mean, she says she no longer supports Medicare for all.
She has not said that. Okay. Maybe anonymous aides on a Friday night have said that.
Oh, don't you just love the outright bias against conservatives on all these liberal networks? They just are so biased. And it's just mind-boggling to me that they are so biased. They are intentionally go after the conservative candidate. Very clearly, they're biased. I mean, you only have good things to say about one side, but you only have bad things to say about the other side. And, this whole mic thing, I mean, Donald Trump doesn't really care. And the whole time, Kamala has been lying, saying that Donald Trump is chicken to get into a debate with her. I think it's the other way around. I think Ms. Harris is projecting, because one of the things that the Democrats are very good at is that they always accuse people of what they're doing or what they're thinking. They project their problems off onto the other side of the political aisle. They always do that. If anything, she is the one that's a bit scared. You know that every time she gets in front of a group of people or the press to answer questions, she sounds like this.
And it's because of what you did then. So I'm here to ask you to do what you know how to do, because when you do what you do on all of these issues, the American people win. Thank you. To do what you know how to do, because when you do what you do.
If you look back, did Democrats fail, past Democratic presidents, congressional leaders, to not codify Roe v. Wade over the past 5 decades?
I think that, to be very honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Certain issues are just settled.
Clearly we're not.
No, that's right. And that's why I do believe that we are living.
Together, we are expanding access to transportation. Seems like maybe it's a small issue, it's a big issue. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. Today, the business of our work is for the council to report on the work that has occurred since our last meeting across these areas. We will today also discuss the work yet ahead, the work we must still do.
Governor and I, and we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Now and I've said in other videos, maybe she's nervous. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, she just really never seems prepared. And it came out from a staffer that she doesn't work, that she doesn't prepare for anything that's upcoming. She just doesn't prepare, which is the exact reason why she seems that way. When she is asked a question, she can't answer simple questions like, have you been to the border? It's like that whole question shook her. And she had the nerve to say, I haven't been to Europe and I don't understand the point of your question. The point of the question is, have you been to the border? Because the border is a mess and you're the border czar. And the people interviewing her are literally looking at her like this. And now they're trying to, whitewash everything because now she's the nominee for president for the Democrats. So they don't want all of this to be out, but it's still out. And we know exactly what's going on. So let's look at this clip here.
Did a pretty good job with no notes, just off the top of his head, ready to go. But Judge, in a negotiation, when you have a deal, and let's just say a new party comes in and they accept that deal, then I don't think it's right then to try to change the rules, but I don't know, from a negotiation standpoint, what do you think the Trump team should do?
Well, I think the Trump team has already done what they need to do. And he basically said, okay, you can have the mute mic on or off. He just said, I don't care. I'll do it anywhere. But it's interesting. I'm not sure in terms of contractual things, whether it's in the name of the Democrat Party or the Biden campaign or the Biden-Harris campaign, where he is presumed the principal for her is the agent.
Right.
But I'm not going to go into that right now, Harold. Thank you. But I got to tell you something. What's very interesting to me about this whole thing is I think she wants the mute button off. Because if you recall, one of the most viral moments that we remember from one of her rallies was when she said, I'm speaking. And I think she really wants to have the ability to say that again and to stop Trump and say, I'm speaking. So everyone
Right, because she said it to the Palestinian protesters.
Exactly,
basically
to those protesters. Right. But I also think that the fact that the mainstream media is covering for Kamala and for her inability to come out and make statements about what she's standing for does a disservice not only to the media, but it also does a disservice to the independents.
Does anyone know what Kamala Harris is standing for? I mean, what are her policies other than the ones that she stole from Donald Trump about the tax on tips, even though she's the reason for the tax on tips? I mean, what has she said that is policy related? I'm not talking about the flowery, pretty speeches about we are a country of freedom, our rights to do this, we have hope, or whatever the mess she was talking about at the DNC last week. What are her actual policies? I mean, it seems to me that the Democrat voters, people who are just determined to vote for Kamala, are these liberal, maybe a little bit brainwashed, liberal single women who tend to just want to vote for her because the only answer they ever give is the fact that she is a woman or a woman of color, or they just don't like Donald Trump. Anyone watching this, can you tell me, who is a lefty, if you're wanting to vote for Kamala, give me policies, not the fact that she's a woman, not that she's a woman of color, and you cannot mention Trump's name. Can someone give me that? Or, I mean, because every answer I have seen on these man on the street interviews, well, it's time for a woman to get in. I just want a woman to get in. I'm like, that is low information. That means you're not using critical thinking skills. I'm trying to be nice, but we got to do better than that. Okay? We've got to do better than that.
the independents who are looking for policy recommendations from Kamala. So on the one hand, they can say, oh, they love Kamala. She's all about joy and everything else. But there's that piece in the middle that's like, we want to know what you stand for before you actually think that we're going to vote for you. I also think there's another piece, and that is no confidence. I don't think Kamala Harris has confidence in herself. She came out and talked about price gauging, which I've never heard that word before. But when she talked about, she got panned on her economic policy from the left and the right. And I think that she doesn't have the ability and the confidence that we saw she lacked during the 3.5 years when she was the vice president. And finally, I think that I don't think she can multitask. I think she's spending all of her time getting ready for the debate, and she's doing nothing else. And that's why she very much wants to do this. But at the same time, I think she's frightened as well.
But in the meantime, Harold, we're waiting for this big interview, she said, is going to happen before the end of the month, which is the end of this week. Who's it going to be?
First of all, good to
Is it
be
gonna
back
be you?
around.
Are you getting the interview?
Good to be back around this table. If I do, I'll have you with me. I've said before, she has to do interviews, has to do debates. But I agree 100% with what the judge just said. And I'm going to add on to it. The pettiness from both of these campaigns about mics being on or mics being off, I remind them both, you're running for the privilege of serving us in the United States. Ordinarily, campaigns get together. This is not some new phenomenon. You're not you're not the only candidates we've had. Candidates teams get together and they settle on 3 debates. They bicker over who's going to get to do it with the networks. But now since everyone's simulcasting it, it's a little different. We deserve to hear you talk about national security, economic growth, people's anxieties and aspirations, education, all of the things, reproductive rights, all the things you want to talk about. You should have to stand side by side and do it 3 times. The fact that we're only talking about 1 now is an embarrassment and an affront to our system and to the people. Finally, get with it. We deserve it. We deserve better.
And see, like I just said, Kamala said that Trump is scared to debate her. That's not the truth. The truth is she's afraid to debate Trump. How is she going to manage to get out of it? She wouldn't agree to 3. She only agreed to 1. And then I believe ABC is then the moderator. I mean, we really need to be fair because Fox should have done it because Fox is more conservative leaning. And last time it was CNN, and CNN, of course, it was when Joe Biden was the nominee. Now he's gone, but CNN is left leaning and ABC is left leaning. We need to be fair because, well, CNN actually did a decent job. I will say that they did a decent job, but when I just don't agree with not doing a conservative network. We have to have, last time it was left leaning. Why not? Why can't it be Fox? Donald Trump said he wanted Fox. In any event, Donald Trump said he doesn't matter if the mics are on, if the mics are off. He doesn't really care. She's trying to make it seem like he was afraid of her. And she was like, anything you got to say it to my face. Donald Trump is not afraid. The way he came up after being shot in the ear, only millimeters from his head. I don't think he's afraid of you. I really don't. So we got to get it together, and hopefully they will get it together, and there are no tech issues that won't let us see what is actually being said, because I'm looking forward to the debate. But I want a full debate. I don't want any hanky-panky business going on so people can't really see or hear what's going on, what Kamala is fully saying, what Donald Trump is fully saying. You all better get it together because I want to hear it. We had issues with the Elon Musk and Trump interview. It started late, supposedly from some attacks, cyber attacks. I don't want any technical issues. All right, ABC, get it together because ABC likes to do things like this.
Which has killed more Americans than at any other point in the history of our country with respect specifically to fentanyl. And the fact that she and Joe Biden have unleashed one of the worst foreign policies in the history of our country that has us on the verge of World War III. That is Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a Black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, one second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
Yelling at George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer.
See what I mean? George Stephanopoulos said, you just repeated and said it again. I'm like, I went back and listened to it. Like, what did Byron Donald say again? I don't even think George Stephanopoulos is paying attention. He just has talking points that he has been told to say by the people that pay his paycheck. He's been told to say that, but Byron Donald's never said the slur. What slur? He never said it. He didn't say anything about it. And then he repeatedly said, but you said it again. You said it again. Said what again, George Stephanopoulos? That's what the left does. They are crazy, literally Looney Tunes. So we're going to switch up gears now. We have another portion of the show that talks about this former Democrat volunteer who attended the DNC. She attended the DNC and she's come up with amazing revelations. Check this out.
Okay, I'm going to get real in this, and it's probably going to piss some people off, but I'm okay with that, because if I'm not being honest, then what else am I doing? I just got back from the DNC where I signed up to volunteer, and when I initially had signed up to volunteer, Joe Biden was still the nominee. It wasn't yet Kamala Harris. I've worked in progressive politics for a long time. I have worked for many different Democratic candidates, Senate candidates, House candidates, even some Democratic organizations. And as the years have gone by, I found myself getting more and more disillusioned with the Democratic Party, although until now, I've never said that out loud or anywhere public. And I just want to say that by saying this, I'm not necessarily saying that the other party is better. I'm just giving you my experience with working with the Democrats. Throughout my career, I've mostly done campaign fundraising, so I've seen it the way that it works behind the scenes. And I know that candidates spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day just calling donors and begging rich people for money. It's pretty much the only people that they talk to. I mean, of course, sometimes they have to talk to voters, but the majority of their time is just spent calling and begging rich people to give them money for their campaigns. Even the politicians that detest this, that want to get big money out of politics, still have to play this game. They still have to make these calls. They still do the same amount of just calling rich people and begging them for money. And what unfortunately happens once they get into office, if they get into office, is that they soon realize that the money machine is so great and the seduction of power is so immense that they no longer adhere to these values. When I first got into politics, I thought that Democrats were the party of the people. And at the DNC this week, I felt like I was in a building with the most elite and out of touch people in the entire world. It very much felt like, let's just have a huge party and forget all of our problems because the vibes are brat. When I was there, I didn't feel any connection to real America or the place that I come from, which is the Midwest, Kansas City, Kansas, and Missouri. I didn't feel any connection to the people that I know right now who are struggling to buy their groceries or to pay their rent. The people who want to know what both candidates are going to do to materially affect change in their lives. And when I was there listening to the speeches, I felt myself feeling mad because I didn't hear anything about the economy. Definitely not in Kamala's speech and not very much in the others as well.
And see, that's the thing, because Kamala just talked about just nothing really. It was a bunch of empty words, a lot of empty words that can get you emotional and hype, get you all excited and make you cheer. But when you sit down and analyze it and use critical thinking skills, I mean, she actually didn't say anything. She doesn't really have a platform. She is ridiculously very shallow and doesn't prepare. According to her own people, she doesn't prepare for anything. She doesn't read up on policy. She doesn't try to see what's going on. She doesn't try to connect with the people. We recently had Donald Trump recently attended the anniversary ceremony of the 13 Americans who were unfortunately unalived in Afghanistan. And he was the only one there. And I found out later that it was because the organizers only invited him. They did not invite Biden or Harris because evidently they don't even feel like they care in the first place. Now that is saying a lot, that they only invited Donald Trump because he seems like he actually cares. We need to vote on, he's not perfect, but he cares. He really, really cares. He stopped mid-speech to go see about a woman when he was in Asheboro, North Carolina, a few days ago, to see about a woman who was having some kind of medical issue. He walked away from the protected glass and walked over there to her. That is the kind of person that he is. At the RNC, he had the firefighter jacket for Corey Comparatore, who was the man who was unfortunately unalived in the event in Butler, Pennsylvania. He hugged on, he actually kissed it. So this is what we're going to compare the economy and the caring, because I've heard from my actual rabbi that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Donald Trump actually knows a lot and he cares a lot. We need to remember that. He cares.
Instead, I heard generic platitudes, things like joy and respect and integrity. And what does that even mean? Let's make the military the most lethal in the world. I thought I was part of the anti-war party. I thought I was part of the party that fought for the underdog, that championed working people. When and how did we just become the party of academia and affluence? Because that's what we are right now. How can we ever say that we're going to fight corporate power or give a voice back to those communities that have been left behind when above the delegates on the floor in levels and levels and rings of suites with donors and corporations that we're literally looking down on the people below from above? That's what Chris Cuomo said, and he's absolutely right. You know, I went to the DNC this year hoping that I would feel reconnected to the Democratic Party, that I would have more of a sense of understanding of Kamala and her candidacy and what she stood for. But instead, I ended up leaving and feeling the opposite, more disconnected and alone than ever. And I don't think I can support Kamala Harris for president. I don't even know if I can call myself a Democrat anymore. I don't know who I'm going to be supporting, but I know it's not her. And for once, I'm not afraid to say it.
Well, that young woman said, for once, I'm not afraid to say it, because we sometimes, when you're a conservative like me, and I've said this before, it's really difficult being a Black conservative, particularly if you are supporting a MAGA Republican, and even more so if it's Trump. It's hard out here. They demonize us. They call us names. It's like you can't say anything. And I have refrained from being very vocal on my social media, where I have a lot of people that I grew up with who seem to be more so supporting Kamala, and even some out of that group still are saying they're not with her. They didn't say they're supporting Trump. They just said they're not with her. But if you don't vote Democrat, it kind of in a way is voting Republican, but which is fine with me. But a lot of people from my friends from school are supporting Kamala. And if some have been vocal and said that they're not supporting her, and they have gotten backlash, they have been called names. They said, supporters of Kamala said, I'm going to block you, and you are this and you are that. How could you? And then, you know, I'm looking like, well, how can we support a person who can't answer questions? She hasn't had an interview in over a month. We're at 36, 37 days now, and she hasn't done an interview. That's why I'm like, how can you go through a presidential campaign without an interview? And we have one debate in September. We have a debate in a couple of weeks. One debate. I just, it's like they're hiding. There's something that they are not sharing, and the media is complicit in hiding. I don't know what it is, but something, I just don't believe the Democrat Party. I believe something is nefarious, or something is about to happen. I don't know what that is. I know they've gone after RFK and Tulsi Gabbard, who both used to be Democrats, and they've gone after both of them using lawfare. So this is the party of the Democrats right now, the modern day Democrats. That's who they are. They are the party of war, seemingly, is what I've been hearing from RFK and Tulsi Gabbard. Fear-mongering. censorship. Yeah, fear-mongering censorship. Doesn't that sound, I don't know, communist to you? That's what it sounds to me. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Be blessed. Love God, your families, the United States of America, and march on, warriors.